and legalizing marijuana for adults, freeing up time and generating revenue so police can better protect us from serious, violent, and unsolved crimes. The system needs changing. Yes, on 91, it's about time.
Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-token lovers of liberty. We made it to the weekend. It's Friday. Just a couple more weekends away before we've got legalized marijuana in twice as many U.S. states as before. That's right. We're going to legalize in Alaska. We're going to legalize in Oregon. We're going to legalize in Washington, D.C. We're going to pass medical in Florida. We're going to pass medical in Guam. And the momentum will be there for the knockout punch to prohibition in 2016. And in order to make that knockout punch happen, we are spreading the truth about cannabis. And there are people out there against us, mostly in rehab and law enforcement, who are terrified that they're going to lose their easy money. They're going to lose their easy collars, their easy statistics of marijuana consumers. And they're trying to frighten you by putting the children up. What about the children? Won't you think of the children? So we're going to go to their press conference. I came into it just a few minutes after it started. There is a law enforcement officer, I forget his name, at the podium right now. We'll start there, and we will debunk as we go. Hang on tight. This is going to be fun.
What we think is important is you have to look at other states and some of the difficulties they've had. You always want to look and see if there's been other problems and other challenges, and then if there are problems and challenges, we don't want to go down that path. And so we really think that we're going down a treacherous path, and a path that could be dangerous to the state and costly.
So let's look at what's happened in the other states. In Colorado, their crime is down, and people are now back to work. There's 18,000 new jobs. In Washington State, they arrested 5,000 fewer people. And in Colorado, they made $45 million. In Washington, they've made somewhere around $8 million so far. Yeah, I think you're right. We should look to the other states.
It costs lives. And that's what our concern is the significant impairment that will be on the roads with more marijuana in our state.
And yet, when we look at the state of Colorado, we have found that, number one, the fatality rates in Colorado have been lower than the U.S. average since 2005. And a recent DUI checkpoint in May on a Friday night in Larimer County, Colorado, where they searched 1,527 cars, they came up with 20 alcohol DUIs and 0 marijuana DUIs.
So that's what I have at this point, and I will turn it back over to Mandy, I guess.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'd like to introduce Dr. Kimber Richter. She is a professor of preventative medicine at for public health. She's works for the University of Kansas Medical Center. She's researched heavily tobacco and now has been researching marijuana. She's a mother of a teen son who became addicted to marijuana, and she will explain to you what that did to their family and how much just, in fact, that cost not only emotionally but financially for her family. Dr. Kimber Richter.
And Dr. Kimber Richter is also one of the founding board members of Project SAM.
Thanks so much for having me here. I'm just really pleased to provide what little information I can to Oregonians about what happened to my family and why I think that we're really at a crossroads when it comes to marijuana. Future generations will really look back on the U.S. and ask how in the world could we have let the tobacco epidemic go on for basically 200 years unchecked. It's the top killer in the U.S. 20 million people are slated to die from it by 2030. And it's really the tobacco industry that made all that happen in the early 1900s. People used to use spit tobacco. That was the main way of consuming tobacco in the early 1900s. But then there were machines that were developed, and industrialized tobacco sort of consolidated and created the most incredible marketing strategies, and then also creating one of the strongest lobbies we've ever seen in order to protect its interests. And I really think we are right there when it comes to marijuana.
So I think you'd have to explain then why, with this completely legal industry that's such a huge lobby, we've been able to get lifetime teen cigarette smoking down from 7 out of 10 when I was in high school to less than 4 out of 10 now. We've taken a drug that is the most addictive drug, more addictive than heroin, and the one that has the lowest age of access. You only have to be 18 to get it. And yet somehow we got those kids to drop cigarettes to the point now where smoking is at its lowest levels ever. If that can work for a drug that's highly addictive and available at age 18, why wouldn't it work for a drug that's the least addictive and won't be available until age 21?
Marijuana, the marijuana of 20, 30 years ago was really not that strong, that potent, that addictive. It was addictive, potent, and harmful, but nothing.
Wait a minute. The Woodstock weed wasn't very potent, harmful, and addictive, but it was. It was really bad, but now it's even worse. But it wasn't so bad then.
Like what we're seeing today. And if we open the door to a legal marijuana industry, we already are seeing what can happen in Colorado and what will happen in Oregon. The product is going to get turned into things no one could have imagined. It's going to become much more potent, much more addictive. We won't even be able to project what the public health harms will be. And the costs that we're seeing now, the $1 in tax revenue for the $10 in social costs, who knows where that's going to be with marijuana.
No, actually, we do know where that's going to be with marijuana. Numerous studies have shown the cost of a marijuana smoker, at least healthcare costs, are far less than those of alcohol and tobacco. 1/45th what they are for alcohol, 1/59th what they are for tobacco. And Dr. Richter, do you really want to hang your hat on $1 tax equals $10 costs when Colorado has made $45 million in taxes? Because then you're going to have to quantify for us the additional $450 million in social costs on top of whatever imaginary social costs would have already existed under Prohibition in the first place.
So I really think we're at a crossroads here, and that we really need to take a stand and stop it in its tracks right now before we end up in a new, different, and terrible place with marijuana, similar to where we are with tobacco right now. And we still really don't have a handle on tobacco.
Yeah, sure we do. We have gotten tobacco to go down from something like 3 out of 4 people smoking cigarettes way back in the 1950s to less than 1 out of 4 people smoking cigarettes today. We've removed it from advertising and had strict labeling requirements on it. We've killed its vending machines and we required it to be locked up and put behind the counter and IDs to be checked. And all of that has worked.
Still the top cause of death in the U.S. I think we need to overcome the feeling that marijuana is a light drug, that it's not addictive and it's not really harmful. It is addictive and it is harmful, and it's flat not funny. I mean, we see lots of movies and stuff like that, and I like to think I have a good sense of humor.
Yeah, you'd like to think.
So people really kind of pull their punches when it comes to marijuana, but marijuana is not funny. My family has struggled for years with marijuana because my oldest son, from our marriage, we have a blended marriage with lots of kids and grandkids. But our oldest son from this marriage started using marijuana when he was 17.
So we have a mom who got divorced and a dad who got divorced, who then mixed their two families, and then the teenage son seemed to need to cope with that with marijuana. Interesting. Interesting also that marijuana is quite prohibited, and somehow he was able to get his hands on it, wasn't he?
And we tried to handle it as a family first. We took him to counseling. We went as a family to counseling. We started really trying to deal with it firmly, but as a family. And as we kept ratcheting up the consequences for him, we started testing him. We were one of those horrible families that test their kids for drugs.
Glad you agree that that's horrible.
But we really needed to try to get a handle on when he was using and how he was using, and to try to get him to stop. And everything we tried to do, he managed to get around.
Well, isn't that interesting that your kid was smoking pot, and then when you tried to force him to stop through rehab and intrusive drug tests, he resented it? Well, that's really interesting.
He ended up using for 5 years, and then we finally got to a place where I would leave for work in the morning. He would be asleep because he'd been up all night. He couldn't drive a car. We gave him no money. We had kicked him out of the house several times only to have him get worse and get into a position where he was prepared to kill himself.
Oh, okay. So trying to get your kid to stop marijuana, you kick him out of the house to show how much you love and care for him, and that leads him to suicidal ideation. Yeah, you're one hell of a parent, aren't you there?
We brought him back home, and when we hit the end of the road, we decided to take him into treatment, and we did that. We followed the advice of some of the best people in the country from Harvard, folks that I knew professionally, and so we took him to Boston, had him evaluated, and then put him into treatment in Pennsylvania, and then he went to treatment in California. And we just committed to treating this like a cancer and doing everything that we could for it. We ended up remortgaging our house. We almost had it paid off. We ended up borrowing on some of our voluntary retirement. It cost about $128,000. But let me tell you.
Well, isn't that interesting that getting your kid, forcing him to stop smoking pot, generated $128,000 worth of income for the people trying to force him to stop?
I felt proud and happy to do it because right now he's doing quite well. He has his own job. He just got his raise. He's doing very well. But not all families have those kind of resources.
Exactly, which is why we should legalize and not have to force these people to remortgage their homes and plunder their retirement in order to rehab a kid that really probably just wanted to smoke some pot and be left alone.
And Oregon doesn't have those kind of resources. What it took to get this one person back on track for life was incredible, and it took a lot of hard work by a lot of people, and we just don't have to go there.
I will bet you dollars to donuts your kid is smoking pot right now and just keeping it secret from everyone.
So I would encourage you all very strongly to stop laughing about marijuana, to start thinking about it hard, what it's going to mean to your family. Start thinking about the people whose lives have turned out to be much less than what they should have been.
Yeah, because they got arrested for marijuana and got a criminal record and couldn't get student loans and had the black mark. They had to fill out the box that they've been a drug criminal whenever they tried to get employment. Yeah, their lives probably did end up being much less than they should have been.
Because of marijuana, people whose lives have been destroyed, what will happen to your families? It was hard on my family. My husband and I argued all the time about what to do about it.
So maybe your husband disagreed with that idea?
Issue, and I'm really proud
of treating your
of
kid like a leper?
Me, and I'm happy to stand with them, and I'm also happy to talk more about my family experience. Thank you. I do want to let the media know that we actually are honored to have Dr. Richter with us through tomorrow. So before she has to fly back to the East Coast, so if any of the media wants to interview her more in depth, she has a great story to share that she just basically gave a little tidbit of
she will be available through tomorrow. And then
So the Dr. Kimber Richter, the board member from Project SAM, somehow got flown out all the way from the East Coast to Portland, Oregon to hang out for a couple of days. Probably got a hotel room and a rental car too. I wonder who paid for all of that.
She has to fly back. The next guest that I'd like to introduce to you is Jennifer Shepard. She is a mom from Colorado. She has 2 kids. She started a coalition called Parents for Healthy Colorado in light of what was going on in Colorado and the lack of awareness and information that people had there. And I think you're going to be really enlightened to see what she has to share, because she's there living it, and she can tell you about the products in front of us and her own products that she brought with no marijuana in it either. So,
yes. Thank you so much, and I'm so grateful to be here. And in Colorado, we were really pretty blindsided when Amendment 64, which was our legalization amendment, passed in 2012.
Well, that's a problem, isn't it, considering that they've been working on marijuana legalization in Colorado since 2002. There have been 2 separate votes on marijuana legalization in the state, and the city of Denver passed marijuana legalization. This lady acts as if marijuana legalization came completely out of left field and caught everyone by surprise. No, what caught you by surprise is that your stereotype of what stoners are, you never thought it would happen. You thought we wouldn't put together enough support, enough money, enough electoral power to get this passed. That's what caught you by surprise.
And we really feel, so many people now, we feel we were sold a Cadillac. There were many promises that regulation would keep it out of our kids' hands.
No, there was promises that it would reduce the chance it could get into your kids' hands. Quit fighting straw men.
It would keep our streets safer.
It has kept your streets safer. Crime is down 10% in Denver.
The black market would be null and void.
Nobody has ever said that legalizing marijuana would eliminate the black market. Shit, lady, there is a black market in cigarettes and DVDs, for Christ's sake.
And that it's safer than alcohol, which
it is safer than alcohol.
Alcohol comes with its whole own set of issues and problems as well.
And yet you aren't calling for the prohibition of it.
So, but we were really sold all these promises on all of the great things that would come with regulation. In what we're just now starting to find as the industry starts to set foot and takes off actually at a speeding train's pace, is that we were actually sold a lemon.
A lemon that has produced $45 million for the state, created 18,000 jobs, and increased tourism by 6%.
So the more we're starting to become more commercialized, and we're starting to see more marijuana shops in our communities, and that's how I became involved. So in March, a marijuana dispensary opened up right next to our playground, facing the playground, not on a street, not in a very busy commercial zone. Balloons, flags, sign flippers, and you could smell it. People coming and going, people were smoking their vapes in the park, people were sitting on the side of the park smoking their vapes. Meanwhile, our community's kids were playing soccer. Our kids were playing on the playground.
Do you really want me to go to Google Street View and pull up that particular playground or any playground around Denver metropolitan area and count how many bars, pharmacies, and strip clubs are within shouting distance? Do you really want me to do it?
And I just couldn't believe that this was possible in an appropriate place for a marijuana shop to be. So as...
Why? Again, it comes down to bigotry. You don't want your kids to have to see those people. You don't want to have to explain what that smell is and what those people are doing. We could take this videotape. Well, we wouldn't have anything to play it on, but we could take this back to the 1940s and just reinsert the juke joint that the black people would go to in your mouth for what you're saying, and it would ring just as true as bigotry.
I started to work with our cities. It turns out that it fit all the rules and regulations, and it was an appropriate place to be. So that's where I became even more concerned as far as what is the message that's being sent to our kids?
The message being sent to the kids is that there's some things that are for adults, and those are tightly regulated, and there's some things that are for kids. Why is this message such a thing? The message you're sending now is that we need to ruin people's lives over a houseplant. The message you're sending now is that we can be hypocritical about which drugs people are allowed to take and which drugs they're not allowed to take. The message we're sending now is that we'll keep going with a failed 40-year prohibition, refusing to acknowledge the facts, the circumstances, or any of the data about it, and beat our heads against prohibition until they're bloody because we don't want to send the wrong message.
Where'd you learn that, Cheech? Drug school.
Actually, I'm self-taught, thank you. It's 4:20 here in Portland, Oregon, where the No on 91 forces have definitely put me in the mood for some vapor pen. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got Herb Thrasher on the line with our Rockin' Friday Daily Toker tunes. Stick around.
.420 Radio, the activist radio station.
The war on marijuana is wasteful, and it hasn't worked. The time and resources available to law enforcement in Alaska is limited. And to waste any of that time or money on marijuana is using a hammer to go after a mosquito. It's just crazy. I spent a career in law enforcement in Alaska. I'm voting yes on ballot measure 2.
This communication was paid for by the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol. Top contributors are Marijuana Policy Project, Drug Policy Alliance, and Thomas Cody Swift.
This November, whether you see the words medical marijuana on your ballot or not, the issue is there. From the halls of Congress to your state capitol or city hall, politicians are already making decisions on medical marijuana policy on your behalf. This election, make sure they are representing you. Every vote is a vote for medical marijuana.
It was a nightmare scenario last May for one Southern Oregon woman. It's 4 a.m, and someone's trying to break in.
911 emergency. My ex-boyfriend is trying to break into my house. He put me in the hospital a few weeks ago, and I've been trying to keep him away.
But because of budget cuts, the sheriff's office is only open during weekday business hours.
I don't have anybody to send out there. So if he comes inside the residence and assaults you, can you ask him to go away? Or
he did break into the home, and he did rape and choke this woman. Meanwhile, it was announced that the Oregon Sheriff's Association made a $100,000 donation to the campaign against Measure 91, the initiative to legalize marijuana. So there's enough money to protect people from marijuana, but not rapists? Measure 91 devotes 35% of tax revenues from marijuana sales to state and local police. Vote yes on Measure 91. A message from the Russ Belville Show, not endorsed or sponsored by the Measure 91 campaign. At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Rockin' Friday, featuring rock, metal, and the hard edge of alternative country. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, welcome back, everybody. 24 after the hour, and we got Herb Thrasher on the line. That means it's time to rock!
That's right, it is. What's going on, everyone? It's getting really close to Measure 91, November 4th, and I'm getting my closet ready to put my 4 plants in there, and I hope you guys in Oregon are too.
No doubt, man. I saw your selfie today with your ballot.
That's right, dude. We're going to do it tonight, man. See, that's the difference in Russ's selfie and my selfie, is Russ's selfie already had a colored-in circle, and my selfie doesn't have a colored-in circle, because tonight on Herb Thrasher Flower Hour, we're going to freaking do it together, and I'll do it right there on air, and we'll show you guys, some of you guys out-of-staters. I'm sure Russ has been talking about it, you know, all week, and you guys have seen it. But there's some people tonight who don't get a chance to see Russ's show during the day, and so we'll just do it all together, and I'll get to share it with a lot of my Southern brothers, and real excited to just share this moment as Russ and I have been taking this on. It feels like for eternity.
Yeah.
And almost feels like it's kind of winding down, at least for the vote, and so hopefully we can continue this on. And speaking of Herb Thrasher 4 Hour tonight, I have a really great guest. You guys, for years, we've been playing music from Ripple Music mini bands like Mothership and Earth and Grave and 8 Machine, Cody Foster Army. Anyways, that label right there, one of the owners, Todd Severin, is going to join us tonight. And there's a lot of new releases that Ripple Music have had out here recently, and they have got some great, exciting stuff coming up. And so looking forward to talking with, you know, some of a music label, you know, a real, you know, who's kind of seeing the industry from a different perspective, and also has a few bands called Weed is Weed and Mighty High, and these guys do not piss test their bands. So real excited to talk to him and see what's up with that. And leads us to today's Rockin' Friday tune. Portland is just full of great bands. I talk about this all the time, and I'm not just being partial. These bands are all over. Bands are moving to Portland just so they can be from Portland. And this is a band from Portland. They're called Spellcaster. And these dudes have been around since 2009, and they're a 5-piece band. And they've been rocking for, quite a while now. They've been on the road. They're one of these bands that will take off and go from city to city and stay out for a year, which that's what they did early on in 2009 and 2010 to be able to make up to where they are today. In 2013, they had some band changes, and that's when they went into the writing mode. And the album they just released here recently, July 1st, 2014, is self-titled Spellcaster, and it's a full-length, and it's on the Lone Fur Records label. And here in Portland, we have a studio. A famous band, Toxic Holocaust, is owned by Joel Grind, and he produced this album along with Spellcaster. So real excited to introduce you guys to Spellcaster. We'll be playing these guys a lot on Thrasher Hour throughout the year. Hopefully get these guys in studio, talk with them, see what's up, as they have this kind of traditional metal melodic sound, as you guys will hear right now. They've been touring Montana this month. They've got a couple of gigs in October here, in the late October here in Portland area. So you guys look out for them. Go to their website, spellcaster.us, and they have a Bandcamp page, and they have a spellcaster.bigcartel.com where you can purchase some of these albums. So you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe. Join us tonight for the Thrash Flower Hour, and keep rocking. Turn it up, folks. Spellcaster.
420 Radio, the home of marijuana experts. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher.
I'm Lori Constantino, former Chief Prosecutor for the state of Alaska. As a retired law enforcement official, I know our current marijuana prohibition laws just aren't working. In fact, they've caused far more problems than they've solved. It's time for Alaska to take a more sensible approach. That's why I'm voting yes on ballot measure 2.
I'm Bill Parker, former Deputy Commissioner of Corrections in Alaska, and I'm voting yes on 2. For me, it's a matter of public safety. We have limited law enforcement resources, and they should be spent addressing serious crimes, not arresting thousands of Alaskans for marijuana.
And I'm Kim Cole, a local high school teacher and a mom, and I want to see marijuana handled in a way that actually benefits Alaskans. The marijuana industry should be managed by responsible businesses and not criminals. This means safer communities, revenue for the state, and jobs for Alaskans. I'm voting yes on 2. This communication was paid for by the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol. Top contributors are Marijuana Policy Project, Drug Policy Alliance, and Thomas Cody.
Weeducated Talk Radio with Ruby Lexington, Nikki Fox, Steve the Caregiver, and Jeff Kaufman from Arizona. Replaying Mondays at 10 Pacific on 4.
Mike Schwab is a former middle school science and math teacher. Currently, he works with children daily as an after-school program leader.
Currently, kids have easy access to marijuana with little understanding of its impact. We can take better care of our kids through Measure 91 with strict regulations and funding for proven marijuana education and prevention programs to keep kids from using it. Under our current marijuana laws, one mistake can ruin a life. Measure 91 removes unfairly harsh punishment for marijuana offenses and gets more tax money to local police and drug prevention. Vote yes on 91.
Welcome back, everybody. 35 after the hour. We're going to continue with our debunking of the No on 91 press conference that took place earlier today. We last left the press conference. This woman, Ms. Shepard, a mom from Colorado, was explaining how the sky has fallen and the world has gone to hell since Colorado has legalized marijuana.
Here they're trying to enjoy healthy activities, and yet here we're supporting this industry that encourages drug use and encourages getting high as a form of recreation.
Now, see, getting high as a form of recreation is something that's existed since the dawn of mankind, and no one encourages that more than the drug dealer. The drug dealer has no compunction about encouraging getting high as recreation, and in fact wants to push your kids away from pot that doesn't lead to much of a lifelong customer to moving on to meth or heroin or cocaine that's going to addict them, be more profitable, and bring them more money. The regulated marijuana dealer does not want to do that, does not want to risk losing his license by selling to kids.
Recently in our community, we also heard wind of a big pot store growing, roughly around 10,000 square foot. It also was it was all per ordinance. However, it was still within walking distance from our elementary schools, our parks, and it was in a neighborhood.
Well, you got to define what walking distance is, lady. Technically, you're within walking distance of me if I've got enough time. Is the idea here that legalized marijuana needs to be ghettoized? That there needs to be only one marijuana store way on the outskirts of town where nobody will ever see it? That sort of attitude belies exactly why you guys are giving us these bigoted notions. You're just revealing your bigotry by saying that you need to keep us so separate that the children would never see us.
And that's where the community really started to wake up, because they hadn't really, again, we've kind of been asleep at the wheel for a while. But until it started to end up in their backyard, that was when we started to speak up and learn much more about the industry. And frighteningly, so many of us in Colorado truly don't know what this industry looks like. So I'd like to talk about the edibles a little bit more. We present to parents, we present to PTAs, and again, most of them are appalled when I start to show them some of the edibles. And some of the ones below, actually, I would love to show and tell is always a wonderful thing, if I may. I brought with me the box, and you'll see down below there's, can I come up and show you? We've got our fruity pebbles down, those are actual fruity pebbles. This is photo that I took. So I purchased this at a marijuana shop. It cost about $22, and it is a Fruity Pebbles Rice Krispie bar. In it, 100 milligrams of THC, 10 servings of marijuana in this one treat. And again, when I get these home, I make sure that I lock them up, and actually I throw them away after I take photos of it.
So looking at that, it appears that that treat came in a sealed container that has a label on it that describes exactly how much THC is in it. Guess what kind of label you get with the Rice Krispie treat that's passed around at the high school? No label.
Because I just don't want my kids to get a hold of it. My children see photos and, oh, Mommy, I want that. That looks really good. The gummy peaches. Again, we are just appalled, and so many parents are appalled when they see how many products are being sprayed with THC, have hash oil put in them. There's over 200 edibles.
I got to get me some of that THC spray that we're spraying on stuff. And oh my gosh, there's over 200 types of edibles. Really? How many different types of craft beers are there?
In the state of Colorado, it takes up 6 pages. And with gummies, cookies, lollipops, sodas are now coming, and there's even microwave popcorn.
Microwave popcorn? Oh, batten down the hatches.
So just this week, I think the Denver Police Department issued a warning for parents to be cautious about Halloween. And this is
of course they did, because every year since 1996, police departments have come out trying to make the scare that for some reason, someone's going to take a $15 Chiba Chew and exchange it for a 5-cent Tootsie Roll in a kid's Halloween bag.
Something we've kind of had on the back of our minds for a long time, because as you see many of the products down below, once they're out of the package, you can't tell that they have marijuana in them.
Right. And the ones that are made today that don't have packages, you can't tell that they have marijuana in them.
Many of them smell when you sniff them, but the chocolate, the kudu bar, when you smell that, it smells just like chocolate. So
you know what else smells just like chocolate? An X-Lax bar.
Parents need to be aware of just the various products and be extra cautious. Again, someone could play a joke on somebody and slip something in, or...
Name a place and time where that has ever happened on Halloween. Name it. We'll wait. Do a Google search. See if you can find it. Oh, yeah. It's never happened.
Again, something a child could stumble upon it by accident. And again, the harm, if a child ingests 100 milligrams of THC in one serving, that's where we're seeing so many accidental poisonings in our ERs.
No, you are seeing accidental over-ingestions. Poisoning is something that can kill you. Even if the littlest kid ate this 100 milligram Rice Krispie treat, he would not die.
So I also want to talk a little bit about what's going on in our schools. So with commercialization, and as marijuana continues to develop and become more sophisticated and more potent, the products are so easily hidden. Kids can put that in their pocket, they can give it to someone else. Nobody knows really what you're eating and if you're consuming marijuana. Another big issue we have in our schools are the vaporizers. And I have a photo in my laptop that we can look at later. But again, kids can smoke those anywhere. They can smoke them in the classroom. They look like pens. They do not emit an odor. There's no smell. So kids are very easily consuming marijuana on school premises.
Okay, so how exactly does keeping marijuana illegal rewind the clock to the point before vaporizer pens were invented and before the first pot brownie was baked? You bring up these scares about kids hiding vapor pens and kids hiding edibles. Do you think vapor pens and edibles are going away if you keep it illegal? If anything, vapor pens and edibles will become even more popular as marijuana is still illegal. You have to hide it.
With the waxes, they can conceal the wax in lip balms. Even more concerning with the edibles industry is a product, it's called Suck It. And also I have some photos of that as well. And it is concentrated THC liquid. So it's a little vial. The vial has 100 milligrams of THC. You're supposed to just do 1 drop at a time because a serving is technically 10 milligrams of THC. Frightening because you can drop it in your coffee, you can do a drop in your soda, nobody would ever know that you're consuming marijuana.
All right, and prohibition is going to make that product disappear? It's no longer going to exist anymore? Or is it going to be even more popular as it needs to be hidden because marijuana is still contraband?
So back to our schools, our principals are very concerned with the use of marijuana in our schools. Again, how easily it's being hidden, teachers trying to figure out how to detect it. For the first time ever last school year, marijuana was found in our elementary schools.
I doubt that it was the first time that ever happened.
And in our middle schools in Wheat Ridge, the rate has doubled for arrests in our middle schools. So younger and younger kids are getting their hands on the products.
Except for the fact that when we look at the Colorado Healthy Kids Survey from 2009 to 2013, we find that the teen lifetime use, have they ever tried it, and teen monthly use have both declined for 2 surveys in a row.
And they're sneaking them into schools and they're using them, which is very concerning. So I wanted to bring up a point, again, back to the edibles, which is, again, a very frustrating thing for many of us throughout the state, is, again, alcohol comes with its own issues with it itself, and we don't condone its use.
But you're not trying to arrest any adults who want to drink, right?
However, with alcohol, the flavor and the taste really for most kids and young people, they really don't like it. They don't like to drink wine. Liquor has awful flavors. Well,
what you mean, like that strawberry flavored vodka I saw recently on the shelf? You mean like the Bartles and James fruit flavored wine cooler that I first drank as a 16-year-old? You mean the purple punch that people make where they make a bucket and put a bunch of alcohol in it with a bunch of fruit and Kool-Aid and stuff? Right, lady.
Kid or what child, who doesn't want to eat a cookie? Who doesn't want to eat a gummy peach?
Wait a minute. I thought you said these were just marketed for kids, and now you seem to be saying that, well, who wouldn't want to eat a cookie, as if adults might want one?
Again, they taste good. And you really...
But, of course, adults don't like things that taste good.
Really can't... Well, actually, I haven't tried it, so I don't know if you can taste the marijuana. But, again, a gummy peach or...
you ought to try it, lady.
Or a brownie, it tastes good. So, again, is the industry trying to cater to our kids? We don't see how they're not trying to cater to our kids with these products.
Really? You don't see how an industry is making products that are served in adults-only stores where adults with ID that proves they're 21 are the only people that can go buy them, and they are flying off the shelves because the adults like these edible products rather than having to smoke a dirty joint, and you just can't see it, huh? It's because you don't want to see it. You just can't believe that, oh my gosh, adults like cookies and soda and microwaved popcorn.
So even more concerning that we're trying to let our Colorado parents know is, again, more commercialization and normalization. Again, just making marijuana use an everyday thing.
Now we get to the heart of the matter. Your bigotry.
It's not a big deal. Again, getting high is a form of recreation.
You mean like drinking at the pub or drinking at Coors Field or drinking?
Just this spring in Denver, the Denver County Fair had its first annual Pop Pavilion. So it was 21 and over, and no children were allowed upstairs, and no marijuana was on the premise. However, they had Dorito eating contests, and they had joint rolling competitions. And a side effect from that, they did not have marijuana on the premise. However, I don't know if you've heard the stories, there were some accidental poisonings from some of the chocolate bars.
Again, accidental over-ingestions. You cannot be poisoned by something that is non-toxic.
And again, here's the Denver County Fair, 4-H, kid family friendly, and yet we're trying to really normalize and make accepted Dorito eating.
Oh no! We're trying to normalize Dorito eating.
And pot use. Again, also concerning, I think so many parents think that my kid will never use it. They just won't, they know better. Well, again, back to normalization. We have the Westward. This is a free publication, and you can get it at any restaurant. They're at Chipotle's. So many advertisements for marijuana in the back few pages. This advertisement here with the young woman in the bra You can get 20% off with your red card and your student ID. Again, what population are they targeting? Probably our early college kids.
You mean adults? You mean the industry is targeting adults? The hell you say?
With marijuana. Also in here, coming up soon, actually it was the first week of October, Snoop Dogg was coming to have a big cannabis festival that was the 3rd through the 5th.
Oh, yes, and we all know how much the young kids love Snoop Dogg, that 40-something-year-old rapper.
And then the Cannabis is a website. Anybody can look on it, and actually I encourage you all to look at the Cannabis. There's many websites and many stories on that talking about marijuana for newbies with lower THC, how to get started, again, just really promoting and encouraging marijuana use. And again, we really struggle with why do we want more people to use marijuana, and what's the benefit of more people using more potent marijuana?
You assume that more people are going to use marijuana as if that's a bad thing. It doesn't matter how many people are using it. It matters whether or not harm has gone up. And as the economist Ben, I forget his last name, just spoke to folks we reported on it. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact details, but he reported on the studies that have shown that medical marijuana states see a decrease in young men's suicide rates and young men's drunk driving rates in the double digits. So if more young men are using marijuana and not using the antidepressants that cause suicidal ideation, that's a good thing. If more young men are smoking marijuana and drinking less, that's a good thing.
So again, in Colorado, we've really set up the perfect recipe for drug use, not just for our kids, but for all of our citizens. We have increased availability, increased social acceptance, and then what's most concerning, especially amongst our youth, is decreased perception of harm.
And yet, even though they have that decreased perception of harm, the teens in Colorado are using less than their U.S. counterparts and find it harder to access than their U.S. counterparts. And why wouldn't perception of harm go down if we start with a baseline where marijuana is going to make you grow man boobs, kill your sperm, cause you to be an amotivated person on the couch, lead to heroin, and eventually destroy your life? If that's where the kids started with their perception, and now we're giving them the truthful information that, some people have a problem with pot, you shouldn't do it while you drive or go to school, might make you giggly or a little anxious. Yeah, of course the perception of risk has dropped. That's your fault, not our fault.
And that's what we see falling. And with those three together, we're seeing increased use of marijuana in our schools. And our kids, they didn't ask to be part of Colorado's social experiment. So I encourage you all to research as much as you can, learn everything you can about the marijuana industry, because there is so much that they don't want to tell you and they're not going to tell you. So I encourage you to vote no on 91, protect your communities, and protect your future generation. Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you. That was amazing, Jennifer. Thank you. Spoken like a true mom who's living it, experiencing it, having her kids exposed to it. This is why the No on 91 Committee, which is a statewide coalition of doctors, of law enforcement, of parents, of employers.
That is funded 98.6% by the sheriffs and narcotics officers.
Are concerned about this measure and what it's going to do to our communities. I'd like to also bring up Dr. Ron Schwerzler. He is a medical doctor with about 40 years of experience. He's also the director of Serenity Lane in Eugene. It's an addiction treatment agency.
Oh, really? So someone who makes money because marijuana is illegal and people that are caught with it and put to drug court are then sentenced to become his clients? Please tell us more.
Dr. Ron Schwerzler, can you come up? He's going to explain what parents need to be aware of and what these edibles will do. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming this afternoon. Jennifer, great job. I think that displays just what we're concerned about in our state. I'm Dr. Ron Schwerzler. I'm a native Oregonian, born and raised in this state, went to school here, grade school, high school, college, and medical school. Went away to train in the Midwest and then spent a year and a half in Vietnam as a battalion surgeon. Saw lots of marijuana use there, and you couldn't get those people to do their job just because they were always smoking and trying to stay in the rear.
Yeah, that's why soldiers in Vietnam weren't too excited about the mission. It was the marijuana. Sure.
But when I got out into practice, I brought my family back here, and I've been practicing medicine in the state for the last 45 years, first as a family practitioner, now as an addiction medicine specialist. We are a medical specialty now. It is a termed a chronic disease, just like diabetes, hypertension, emphysema, any chronic disease you name. We now know addiction is a chronic disease. And
a lot of experts now are debunking this idea of addiction as a disease. And you are going to be one of those quacks who's going to be left in the dust as better understanding of this gets some attention in the medical community.
You get it doesn't go away. I've been on basically in the trenches with dealing with addiction people. All my young kids that come into treatment that are now 18 to 25. There is no adolescent treatment, by the way, in the state of Oregon. You cannot get your adolescent treated. You almost have to wait till they're 18. By then, the damage has been done.
There's no adolescent drug treatment in the state of Oregon. Wouldn't it be neat if we could tax something and then dedicate that tax revenue to drug prevention and treatment that might help those adolescents and might open up even more treatment beds for the adults by not forcing pot smokers to have to go there when they're caught and sent to drug court? Wouldn't that be cool?
But most of my 18, 25-year-olds started when they were 11, 12, and 13 years old. They started with either nicotine or marijuana.
Oh, so 11, 12, and 13-year-olds now are able to get their hands on marijuana? How interesting.
And I disagree somewhat with the gateway theory, but we do know that now the second most common drug are prescription opiates. And where do they get those? From friends and family. Not from doctors, but from friends and family. And where will they get marijuana? From friends and family.
Okay, so as Dr. Kevin Sabet showed, in non-medical marijuana states, the number one place that a kid gets his marijuana is as a gift from a friend. In the number two, and this is in both medical or non-medical marijuana states, number one is gift from a friend, number two is bought from a friend, but number three in the non-medical marijuana states is from a criminal dealer. Number three in the medical marijuana states is from somebody's medical marijuana card. So, if it is inevitable that the kids are going to get their hands on marijuana, wouldn't it be better that more of those outlets are regulated, inspected, taxed, and at least have one adult in the chain who has to be corrupted before the kid can get his hands on the marijuana? Or should we just let the criminals keep running it like they have been and allowing 81 to 90% of kids to have one-day access to marijuana?
They won't go to the dispensaries, of course, because they're youngsters.
Exactly. They won't go to the dispensaries because they're youngsters, because they'll be carded, because they can't get in there.
It takes a long time for that addiction to develop. We have to remember it.
Wait a minute. How powerfully, terribly addictive is this new super hyper potent marijuana if the addiction takes years to develop?
It isn't about the drug, and I don't like to demonize the drug.
What?
It's about the brain. The brain likes these drugs. The reason we use marijuana and other drugs is because they make us feel good. And they do something...
Sorry, I just have to pause for a second because somebody told the truth for a moment. It kind of just shocked me. We do drugs because they feel good. Truth feels good every now and then.
Yes, they reinforce the taking of the drug. Not only do you like the drug, but the brain tells me when you get into a rough patch, do it again. And that's how our kids get into trouble. Our brains are not ready for drug use of any kind, any mood-altering drug, until the brain is fully grown at the age of 24.
Okay, so how about we propose a marijuana legalization where you have to be age 24 to use it? Why aren't you guys ever proposing that?
And it takes that long for the brain to recircuit, to prune, to do all sorts of things in adolescence that get damaged by the use of drugs. And that's what we're facing in Oregon and in this country. 10% of people in adolescents and adults are going to get addicted to a substance. And one of the most common substances I see is marijuana.
Okay, so 10% of people could become addicted to something,
And one of the most popular things they could be addicted to is the least harmful thing they could become addicted to.
Usually with another drug, that marijuana is always there. And so I just like to, the fact that, in my opinion, a drug should never be smoked. How do we know the dosage? How do we know how much they're getting?
Because of self-titration?
And I don't think any doctor in this country would legitimize a smoked drug. We need a way to get it into the body better.
Okay, you mean like the edibles that your previous people have just spent all day demonizing? The vaporizers that people have been spending all day demonizing? Maybe those might be a way we could get marijuana into the system? Oh my God, we don't have enough time for all of this debunk, I'm afraid. I've still got 15 minutes left on this press conference. I'll bring it to you next Monday, because Connie Raymakers from Tiger Turns the Tide said something so bold-facedly, pants-shittingly ironic, it made me laugh out loud. So we'll bring that to you on Monday, but for now, that's all the time we got. Join me tonight on the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour, where we vote for legalization live, and we'll have some great rock music for you, and a guest on the line from one of the leading rock labels in Portland, Oregon. That's all the time we got for now. Go Big Blue. Boise State's on ESPN now. I'm going to go watch it. Destruction, sorry we had to kick your ass. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers!
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You grow it, you dry it, you